But oftentimes now people are saying or reaching out to me, or they're like, hey, David, guess what? Like I went to here instead of here because, it's like I thought about, some of the things that you had talked about, and just wanted to let you know that I did that. And it just makes your day.
Hello beautiful beings, it's Rebecca, the Vegan Pixie Warrior, and welcome to my channel. If you've not been here before, my channel is all about uplifting other animal rights activists and giving you new ways that you can become an advocate for the animals. So if that sounds like your sort of thing, hit the subscribe button just there. Go on, give it a tap. And we'll get on. Today I want to introduce the wonderful, the beautiful David. He's the 40-year-old vegan on YouTube, on Instagram, and I finally got my act together and asked him for an interview. I can't believe it's taken me this long, like how I left this guy out. So today we're going to be talking about his liberation pledge and why he's taken it. And I'm hoping by the end of it you'll be inspired to take the liberation pledge after you hear how easy and effective it is and what a great way it is to advocate for the animals. So I'll let him explain. Hi, David. Welcome to my channel. How are you today?
Hey, Rebecca, I'm great. Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on your channel.
We were saying before I started recording, I should have done this ages ago. So I'm really grateful that you've come on and spending some time with me today. For anyone that doesn't know, David is the 40-year-old vegan. You've probably seen him on other channels like Grumpy Vegan Grandad, and he was on The Vegan Poet recently as well. Did an amazing interview with him. So please go and check that out because it was really, really good. And there's a couple of reasons I've invited you on. The first one is the reason I started this channel in the first place was to promote the Liberation Pledge and talk about that. So I would like to talk to you about, because you've taken the pledge yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, first question I'm going to ask you though is, I ask everybody this first of all when I first meet them, is why did you go vegan? What was the catalyst and how long have you been vegan?
Yeah, so I guess I could give you the long or the short version of that.
Whichever you want.
Uh, so yeah, there's quite a few reasons why, or individuals why I went vegan. I don't know, like we've talked about it before, but maybe your audience isn't aware that I used to be a former slaughterhouse inspector. So I worked for the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, the federal body that governs food and welfare of animals as well. So that was part of what took me towards going towards veganism, because I had witnessed a number of awful things, probably too much to get into on this channel, but eventually I found out that there was this thing called vegan. Now, I had some preconceived notions about veganism, and or even vegetarian.
I think we all did, didn't we? I think, yeah, I definitely did.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And so I didn't really know that there was such a thing, but then I started to hear things, and then I had this stereotype. And so at some point, my ex partner, she had mentioned this, maybe we could try vegetarian, because she saw like how I was impacted by what I had seen in the place that I worked. So I worked in a place at the end of my career called Animal Health, and that's where the files of abuse cases would go through, and I would have to make sure all the photos and videos and notes were there, and I would pass them along to the senior person there. Then they would decide whether or not it would go to court. And what I saw is complete violence and sheer awfulness towards these beings. And so she saw that I struggled, and so at some point we tried going vegetarian, and I didn't die. I was a lot, like I lived. I could actually be fine. And so that transition,
Shocking, right?
isn't it? Yeah, like, so all these preconceived notions, these stereotypes, this worry about health, well, I felt better. So but what I noticed is that I wasn't even eating like dairy products or eggs. And so I thought, wait a minute, by default, I guess you could say I'm vegan. Years later, I understood the philosophy of veganism as opposed to being plant-based. And so there was an activist, Amy Serrano. She's in Canada, powerful activist, and she was doing a live stream at the Toronto Liberation Conference. I think it was in 2019. And so prior to that, I had been vegan. I had been plant-based, if you want to call it more so. But I started going to vigils, but I wasn't speaking out. I would just go to vigils to bear witness. I wouldn't stream it. And also I was worried about how people would receive me. So I had all these, stereotypes, preconceived notions that we
Yeah.
all seem to have. And so from there, I saw this speech that Amy had said, and, sitting idly by and, allowing this injustice to happen. And so it really spoke to me. And from that point on, I haven't stopped really. So that's what led me to being vegan. Yeah.
That's great. I love everyone's different stories of how they've become vegan, and yours is one of the rare ones that you don't get to hear about that often, with someone who's actually worked in the slaughterhouse and seen what happens to the animals. It's just heartbreaking. So you can actually express that as a first person, saying, like, well, I know this is what's happened. One of the things I try and tell people is about my friend who's a vet, and she worked in the slaughterhouses as well, overseeing what was going on. And yeah, she was a pig vet, and the stories she comes out with just absolutely horrendous. So it's good to be able to direct people to someone like you, definitely. And I think you go on more about your experiences in the slaughterhouse on Joeen's video. So I'll pop a link to that so people can, if they want to find out more or share that with their friends and family that aren't vegan, then they can do.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
what led on to the Liberation Pledge? What was the story there? What made you take the pledge?
Yeah, I guess it's more like sort of something similar, is like I didn't even realize I was taking the pledge while I was doing it. So like I would go to my parents' place or my friend's place, and I just like at some point you start to like get really disgusted by this and the smells. And I'd get flashbacks to where I still do, but it would definitely hit me really hard. And so knowing that people are sitting around falling a victim to this notion that we have to consume our friends, our fellow earthlings, I just couldn't participate sitting in the same table with people. So I think it's something I just was doing. I never really put on a bracelet or anything, but it was just something that I was participating in doing. And it's funny because I think the Liberation Pledge falls into a lot of different forms where people will, even if you just walk into a room, people are having an idea about you or an opinion, or maybe they want to talk to you about it. And so it seems like it's the center of attention, and this especially is a conversation starter.
Yeah, it definitely draws attention. Where was I wearing my fork? I can't remember now recently, and someone asked what it was. That was, oh, I love those fork bracelets. And I went, yeah, they're really nice. I said, this one is for this. And they just looked at me like, what? Okay, that was not what I asked for. I think it might have even been a complete stranger that I said
Yeah.
it to. And my husband just looked at me and I was like, I don't care. They're gonna ask. That's why I wear it, so that people ask about it. And how did you
Yeah.
go about telling your friends and family that you'd taken the pledge?
Yeah, so I think they already intuitively know that I will not sit at a table with them. I've kind of done it on a slow approach. Obviously, my family and friends know my feelings on things, and to be honest, it does spark conversation because I've been at a friend's place. I've been in another room. They've been eating, and I hear their kids talk about it, and they're calling each other hypocrites at the table even while they're doing it. So it definitely sparks conversation. Sometimes you have to have the energy to go into something like that. But oftentimes now people are saying or reaching out to me, or they're like, hey, David, guess what? like I went to here instead of here because, it's like I thought about, some of the things that you had talked about, and just wanted to let you know that I did that. And it just makes your day because you know that you're having this little impact on people. And eventually I want to grab them all and make them mini activists, but I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel the same. I feel like the Liberation Pledge for me has opened up conversations with non-vegans, and some vegans as well. Like they're asking me about it, and especially activists. I mean, for me, it was kind of a similar thing to you, but I felt like a hypocrite as well. Like I'm asking people on the streets to go vegan, complete strangers that I'm never probably going to see again. And then I'm sitting down with my family and friends and they're eating animals. And I used to get asked all the time by work colleagues going, do you mind if I sit here? And I go, yeah, no, it's fine. But in my head, I was like, actually, I do mind that you sit there. And it just made sense. I mean, one person I do have to interview about the pledge is the person that got me to take the pledge. A great activist in London called Mark, and he's a bit camera shy, but I really want to get him on because I think it would be really good. And so everyone's been quite positive. They've reacted quite well
Yeah,
to
I
you
think
taking it.
so. I think so. Obviously, like you're gonna have people that still have that really deep cognitive dissonance situation. And I can think of a few people, maybe I won't name them because they might watch this afterwards, but like just sort of out, like you're gonna have your good and your bad. So I've had people lash out a little bit at me, but again, like if you stay confident and you don't argue back, if you just stay rational, I think that at some point, the cognitive dissonance or something will have them reflect on their actions later on. So yeah, I just feel like it's opened up a wide variety of different conversations, and like it's a great thing to do. I mean, why wouldn't you practice what you preach, like you said? And why would you want to be at a table knowing full well what happens with the violence that takes place? So
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't sit at a table with a dog where someone was eating dog. You just wouldn't. Nobody
no,
would.
no.
Well, no one in the West, maybe. You just wouldn't do it. So, like my mum, if I was eating dolphin at the table with my mum, she would go mental. There's no way she would have it. She wouldn't
Mhm.
sit there. And that's the way I tried to explain it to her, was that's how I feel about all animals. So not just the dolphins, but everybody. Um, I don't know. She's coming round. She's getting better. She doesn't put up much of a fight now when we sit down to eat anymore. She accepts it. She doesn't talk about it. We have kind of like an agreement, a silent agreement, not to talk about
Mhm.
veganism because it
Yeah.
does become an argument. But other people, it's been quite positive. So can you give an example of when you found it difficult to live the pledge? You've been in a difficult situation. For example, I was at my father-in-law's funeral last year and it was just somewhere where it wasn't appropriate and I couldn't do that.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think we're going to have these times in our life because we live in this type of society. I can think back to where I work. I so the spot that my desk was at, I was a new employee. They would put food behind me, and so I know those food contain animal byproducts. And so, I asked to be moved from the area. And it was hard for me as a new employee to ask because, like, you're trying to come in and make a good impression. You're trying not to be that person. Even though, like, we sort of live in a world that's a little bit more accommodating, hopefully, I would say. But yeah, like I was literally moved around the entire office or walked around the entire office and moved a seat over. And so that was like really difficult for me. It was something hard that I had to deal with. I got through the other side, and I like I don't want to deter anybody from that because I think this still induces conversation. It's still a very uncomfortable thing for a lot of people to discuss because if you think of the implications, you are a part of this your entire life and you actively participated. Maybe you didn't know, but you still have to come to the realization that oh my gosh, I was a part of this. So
Yeah.
I think it's important that people realize that these reactions might just be stemming from like a deep-seated belief and not you particularly.
Yeah, I think one thing we forget as vegans, and the longer we're vegan, I think it becomes more difficult to remember, is that we were part of it. We were involved in that. And I know I had those discussions with people. I had discussions with people that cows need to, need to be milked and they eat grass to produce milk. I had these conversations with a couple of vegans and vegetarians. So yeah, we do have to remember where we've come from and that we were on the other side of that and how we react. Because it is difficult. I mean, that is the point of the pledge as well, is to be difficult. To be fair, that is a disruptive thing to do, is to tell people what they can't eat when they're with you, but in a positive way. And I think if you explain that in the right way and your reasons behind it, then they tend to come round. But it's good to know. I mean, work is one of the examples I need to do a video on, and maybe I'll film one after this, because I haven't talked about how I fit in the Liberation Pledge with my job. And I've got a Christmas party coming up as well. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that as well. Might avoid the
Yeah.
food and turn up later for the drinks. We'll
Yeah.
see. And can you give me an experience where you found it really positive?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, to me, it's very positive because I know that it's having a conversation, it's planting deep-seated beliefs. So, the like systemically, I think it's overall great. I think just like when I was over at my friend's place and another friend popped by and his daughter was there, and so I'm like, I'm gonna order the because I asked his daughter, like, what's your favorite, junk food or whatever. And so she said, I like burgers and nuggets. And I said, okay, I'm gonna order that. And so I got, obviously the plant-based version of that. And they're really tasty, right? So she was upstairs. I said, hey, come on down, and she came down and they all tried it and they were all eating it and they were all like really enjoying it. And I'm like, see, guys, like it's that simple, and I try not to be condescending, that's just our relationship with my friends. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was really positive. I left feeling absolutely like, wow, maybe, I'm moving the needle with these people. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think, yeah, food is, because this is the thing. And people say, oh, why do you, why take the Liberation Pledge and still sit with people wearing wool or leather? And it's like, well, because food is a gathering. Like, you break bread with your family. It's such an intimate thing to sit around the table with people and talk about your day. And and we eat 3 times a day. So maybe we'll move on to the leather and wool later on. But at the moment, we need to concentrate on that thing, because I think when non-vegans think about veganism, they don't think about the animal testing. Unfortunately, we have to educate them on that, and we still need to talk about it. And you see these anti-fur protests, and I'm always going, well, where's the anti-wool? Where's the anti-leather protest? But at the moment, when you speak to non-vegans, their first thing is, oh, I'm going to miss cheese and I'm going to miss this. And you do. I don't know if you've had it when you've done a Cube of Truth, but we have people walking past going, oh, I'm going to eat a burger. I'm going to go and get a KFC, or I'm going to eat a sausage. It's like, great, you could get the vegan version. Well done. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, so I think that's why the Liberation Pledge comes around, just concentrating on the food on the table. And
Yeah.
to, sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, no, I was just going to say absolutely. It's one thing that people are always going to probably do is reflect back on their, habits, their food choices, and like, yeah, like of course there's like flavors I miss, but like now there's this whole new vast flavor drawer that I have, and I think when people are doing that, I think again it's just lashing out because they're like, no, I don't want to lose my food. Oh my God, no, you're taking this away from me or
I don't
something
want to
like
eat
that.
grass. It's like, yeah, because that's what we eat. Like, we've
Yeah.
recently gone back to Whole Foods in the last month, and my the taste sensations that I had when I first went vegan, because we were Whole Foods when we first went vegan, they've all come back again. So we've cut out processed foods for the last month or so. We're gonna have it like once a month as a treat sort of thing. But oh my God, the flavors. I swear my sense of taste is so much better now that I'm vegan. I don't know about you.
Absolutely. I actually made the doll yesterday or the day before. Oh my gosh, all the flavors I had in it. And it's all like so healthy. You just feel the nutrition in you. And yeah, of course you can be a junk food anybody, right? But when you get down to the nitty gritty of the whole food, you just like feel like you're in some symbiotic relationship with yourself and the universe, the world. It's a great feeling. Yeah.
It is, yeah, definitely. I've really missed it, and I'm starting to lose weight, so I'm like, it's working. So I'm glad. Not that we ate a whole lot of junk food, but we probably had like 50-50 processed and 50 whole foods. So now I'm just going the other way. And to me, like for taking the pledge for me was one, like I said earlier, I didn't want to be a hypocrite anymore. I wanted to live, you know, live my values in all parts of my life, in my social life as well as my personal life. And also it helped my anxiety and my stress because I used to get really um anxious when I was having to have food with people or going for a meal out. What has the liberation pledge meant to you?
Yeah, I completely agree. Because food is like the probably the most important thing. Breaking bread, so to say, with people is probably the most important thing that you can do to be in a relationship with your family, your friends. It's such an important part of your life. So by doing this, it's not only like living with in alignment with myself, my core values, and what I am out doing every single day, all the time, busting my tail to change the world or help people see the world in a different light. It definitely sitting down, knowing that I'm continuing to advocate even when I'm just eating a meal. So I think that's the biggest thing for me is knowing that I can push the button constantly. Even I know there's activists doing it while I'm asleep, so that makes me feel good. And while I'm doing it, breaking bread, it's overall, it's like the systemic thing I was mentioning earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I like grateful for any other activists. If I didn't work full time, I think I'd be out on the streets all the time doing something. I just feel like I can't do enough. I know that you need to take a break and look after yourself, but we'll talk about that in when we talk about your activism actually.
Sure.
So, what would you say to people that haven't taken the pledge and are maybe thinking about it? I mean, for me, I didn't take the pledge because I thought, well, how could you create demand for vegan products? And I thought you'd refuse to sit with anybody ever. You'd only sit with vegans in vegan restaurants. And I know better now. But what would you say to people that are thinking about it and haven't made that step?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very simple form of activism. If you look at other forms of activism, it's something that can like, if you're worried about family, if you're worried about friends, and you're worried about their health, you're worried about the future of their planet and your planet and their kids or their friends, their other people in their lives. I mean, it's something that's not really as difficult as you might think it might be. At first, I was like, well, then how am I going to have conversations and such? I have more conversations now than I would have had I just, sat down and had these meals and have people feel like I'm judging them in that moment. I have people that are now like actually like saying, okay, Dave, we're going to do this. Do you want to go to this place because this is, vegan friendly or whatever? So there's these things, and so it does work, it does pay off, it shows you're serious, and it shows that you do fundamentally believe in your core values. And I think people do at some point respect that. At the end of the day, they definitely look at you as somebody who's like steadfast in your beliefs. So if you're steadfast in that, if you're believing in that, if this is the message you're bringing across, they're ultimately going to respect you a heck of a lot more. So
Agreed. Totally agreed. Well, thank you for talking about your liberation pledge. I love finding out, talking to more people. I just think I didn't realize how many people have taken the pledge, and it's good to share other people's experiences and hopefully you'll connect with somebody and they might take it. I hope so anyway.
yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's always wonderful to talk to another advocate on the other side of the pond, and it's been a great time.
Yes, definitely a connection that I've never had with people in different countries before. That advocate, being an advocate for the animals, definitely makes us stronger together. Definitely.
Absolutely.
How lovely is he? Just so easy to talk to. Really, really like him. And yeah, just loved hearing his stories about the Liberation Pledge and why he went vegan. Don't forget to check out the video that I mentioned by the vegan poet. So I'll pop a link to, I think I'll pop a link in the video, and I'll pop a link below in the description as well, where you can find the full story of what David's background was and what he actually did in slaughterhouses as a job. It just proves that anyone can go vegan, right? It's just, the proof is in the pudding. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. Don't forget to drop a comment below and like and share this video. And if you've not subscribed already, hit the subscribe button. Just tap it. It's just around here somewhere. And thank you to my patrons that support me on my Patreon page. Like, without you, your support, it really backs me up and makes me feel that I'm doing a good job, and I love your support. It's great. And if you want to support me for as little as £1 a month, or David as well, he's got a Patreon too, check out the links in the description. And I'll see you next time, Beans.